Hey, what is going on, guys? Today we're going to take a look at Crysis 3 and some settings and some visuals, and we're going to try it out on the Vega and we're going to see how it works. So without any further ado, let's get into the game. I'm going to go ahead and watch. I had to change my encode levels and things for playing this game because before I was just doing desktop stuff. But okay, so let's see, where are we at? Our GPU's at around 80%, 85%, somewhere in there. We're definitely CPU bound here. We're using about 55 to 60% CPU to do the rendering. So yeah, we're gonna suffer some there as well. You know, normally we would see frame rates at 1080p, you know, around 110, 115, somewhere in that range. Now I did turn the graphics down a little bit here. I'm going to turn them back to very high, and this should hurt our performance considerably, and I'm pretty sure it's a CPU bottleneck. I don't think that the Vega card is having issues with that particular setting. So yeah, but what I want to do is take a look at the visuals here, and really focus on this area right in front of us, okay? And take a look at how that looks. And now I'm going to change the settings. And I had them all set up. Before we do any... God damn it. Options. Graphics. We'll just set the preset down to high. Hopefully it doesn't completely fuck up the game. No, it didn't. Alright, we're good. Now just take a look at the difference. Okay? There is a little difference. I think maybe the sweeping winds have a few lines in it. I don't know. I almost want to restart the game and see. Because I've seen before that doing this without restarting the game has, you know, I don't know, it's got some weird things that go on. Like sometimes the rain just doesn't show, like the volumetric stuff isn't there, right? So we're just going to restart the game, and I want to make sure that we're getting an accurate representation of what that should look like at that graphical setting. If that makes any sense to you guys. At least they figured out that people don't want to sit through these damn things, and you can actually hit enter and bypass all the splash screens, unlike GTA 5, right? They do make you read this one for whatever reason. At least it's short. Press enter to begin. Feels good. Options, advanced, we're on high. We are on very high texture resolution and FXAA because, honestly, you have SMAA, which is pretty good performance to visuals, but it's not an upgrade over FXAA in my opinion, especially not at higher resolutions. Even at low resolutions, it looks so good. I don't know why you'd even bother. So I guess kind of my mission today is to test out Vega, see how it performs at a lower resolution that most people are going to be using. And here, honestly, my backup. We can crank up some settings here and see. 3 to come out. But yeah, okay. So we can still see the sheets going, and I think that's part of the effects there. If you turn it to very high, you won't see the sheets like that. But overall, not a big visual fidelity difference from very high. I want to go in here and mess around a little more. What did we have? We had particles are high, everything. Okay, we did post-processing, shading, and water down to medium. And this is for our 4K 60-ish frame rate, right? So how bad are the visuals compared to what they were on very high? You know, they look very similar. You'd be hard-pressed to tell the difference, in my opinion. I want to see if Game Effects doesn't... Man, what is that? What setting is that? Objects, maybe. I doubt it. Maybe it's particles? I see, that made no difference. Come on, I want to find it. Yeah, it's particles. That's it. Alright. Very good. So we can leave these at high. And now just take a look at this game. How good does this game look at optimized settings for 4K? And this will give you very close to 60 frames per second. It'll be higher in some places. It might be lower in a few places, but it's not going to be drastically different. And, mind you, this card will play 40 FPS really smooth. It's not like some other cards, like maybe you have a 1060 or a 1050 or something like that, that's severely memory bottlenecked, like most NVIDIA cards. And, you know, the later generations, I feel like they really dropped the ball with the memory bandwidth. Other than that, awesome cards, great power efficiency, great node. I mean, the whole thing is great, right? So let's get into it, huh? I'm gonna go ahead and let's do this. Okay, where are the Jaggies at? I have FXAA on. I can't find Jaggies. Can you find them? It looks great, huh?
Found it. Make the diversion. Profit. Let's go.
I mean,
Romeo Actual, this is Romeo 1.
I'm looking for him.
Over.
Okay, there we go. There we go. You can see him on the crates. You see as I move? How the crates right over there? How they shimmer? Let's go in here. Options. No. Let's go options. Graphics. Let's first disable him, just take a look and see what it looks like. Looks about the same, didn't really affect him, okay. Let's go ahead and do SMAA 4. We'll crank it up. This game takes a minute. Alright, there we go. Look, it still shimmers. It's not quite as bad, but it still shimmers. I think resolution is going to help a lot with that. So, our performance hit at 1080p? I mean, nothing. I don't think it touched. Let's see, our video card is at 83%. So it's probably not even running at full clock speed. Alright, let's try this. Let's try something crazy here. Let's just try MSAA 4 first, because that's a pretty big hit. That still shimmers. So, MSAA, what is it? SMAA? They don't really seem to make a big difference. I think resolution is going to make a bigger difference than anything. I don't know that I can do it, but let's try it. Let's do this once. I think it'll work. Oh, don't kill me. I know it's not going to work right for the stream or for the YouTube, but I think I'll be able to see it okay. Yeah. Okay. They're still shimmering just as bad as ever. It made no difference. Okay. So, parts of the scene just don't get anti-aliased. They just don't get that part because it's too demanding. Which is fine. I know you guys can't see the full screen, but at least I can and it'll work. So I think we can go to 4K. And then we can give you a visual of that too. Mind you, this is MS, you know, AA4X. There we go. I mean, I don't think it's much better. You know, you can see it, right? But my mouse in this game, I need to adjust the sensitivity, but it feels pretty good. Although I will say this, you get a little bit jaggy. How do you say it? You get framey visuals when you're spinning the camera because of the low frame rate. I think it would be a little smoother visually, but it feels smooth. Like, it feels great. You know, I'm getting, what, 35 to 40 frames a second there? What is the setting? What are our options? I don't even know what the options are at. Okay, they are 4K optimized. Okay. Alright. Well, that's why then, right? I do have the particles on high, or very high, so that it still looks pretty. Let's see. Let's go take a look at the water, huh? I guess you can see the water anywhere where you are. 51. We just look straight out there. 60. Okay. Now this is with 4x AA on, so let's take the AA off here. And let's just put FX back on, because honestly, at 4K, that's going to be good enough. Alright. There we go. So, I know you guys can only see part of the screen. I know that. And I apologize. At least you can see my frame rate. And, we go over here, look out in the boonies, we can get up to 80. Over here looking this way, it's at 50, 52. I mean, it's totally fucking... And you have to remember, I'm also rendering with my CPU. So, it gives you better visual quality for the YouTube, but it doesn't... It hurts performance, right? Granted, I have a 1700 and it works pretty good. AMD 8 core at 4.0, so it works pretty good. Man. This game looks really good. I don't know how much you can tell. Oh god. Don't look at the... Okay, there we go. I have to remember that everything is off for you, right? Let's just run through this a little bit, huh? I don't know, should I drop the resolution so you guys can see the rest of the screen, or just leave it at 4K? I mean, I feel like you guys want to see the 4K performance, right? Where am I going? What am I doing? No idea how to play this game.
We've got to get you in there, inside the dome. There's a war starting.
The Alpha Ceph?
No. Remember those guys who shot you full of K-bolts in Siberia? The guys who had you in lockdown for God knows how many years? The guys who tore the nanosuit from my flesh? The guys who were going to do the same to you? Sell? Those guys.
I went the wrong way.
Oh, forget it.
I never said I was good at video games, so that's a thing.
Nanosuit disembarkation in progress. All non-essential personnel must leave
That's
the
Nax.
area.
Cell security AI.
Now you have to remember, I am going to be CPU bound here. There's no question. So my frame rate may be a little lower than what it normally would be. And the fluidity may not be quite as good because I'm really taxing the CPU here, but I'll tell you what, it plays really damn good. Considering, you know? It's good. It's not bad at all. And I'm pretty potato at games, so don't expect anything great. What did that say? It said something, didn't it? You guys probably can't see it. Oh, yep. Okay, he got the door. Good job, buddy. So when we get inside, obviously our frame rates are going to skyrocket.
Silencer on.
Alright, well, I mean, I don't really want to sit here and play all day, right? Let's go options. Let's get this. So you can see the screen again, right? It's no fun if you can't see it. But at least you get an idea of what it can do on 4K and what it looks like, right? So yeah, we had to do some optimizing, you know, otherwise you know, your frame rate's not going to be super great at 4K. You know, we did what? Post-processing, shading at medium. The particle effects on very high are key. Object detail, game effects on high. You know, shadows you can't have them very high for my CPU at least. It just hurts performance too much for what it gives you, you know, visually. So I have a bunch of screenshots taken, but I feel like you already saw it. I think we're good. You know. So there you go. Like inside 260 frames a second. It's a 1080p killer card, man. Like 1440p, no problem. Like it's gonna destroy this game at 1440p. Let's get out of this game. All right. So I have some data here that I scrounged up, and you can pause and take a look at it. Basically 31 to 36 frames per second on very high. Overclocking netted, 13%. If we go down here, we put everything on high, and we got 46. Overclocked to 53. So a total gain of 41.5% over very high, dropping everything to high, right? So the idea behind that is, if you wanted to play a game at a higher resolution, rather than buying a new video card, drop the settings a little bit and have a very good gaming experience that looks really good and still have some decent frame rates, right? So I got some graphs that we can look at. I also did some testing with Chrome and hardware acceleration, and so this is with the primary display is, let me show you. I do have the secondary at 1080p, but the primary is 3840 by 1600, and the secondary is normally at 4K. It's super resolution, so it's actually only a 1080 display. But anyway, it's still, the system is still going to see it as a 4K display. Which is why I was able to load the game up 4K, and then the render is all fucked up. But beside the point, Chrome with hardware acceleration, I lost two frames per second at 1440p. I went from 62 down to 60. That's watching a 1080p 60 frames per second video, and so that's a 3% loss, or a 3% gain turning the video off. So in Firefox is about the same, and even with hardware acceleration turned off, it didn't really change much. Turning off the second display, I gained a half a frame per second, not a big deal, so that's good. Some video cards have big trouble with that. At least they used to. I'm not sure how they do nowadays, but that could also be a lot on the CPU, and I'm not even sure. I just wanted to test it out because driver errors and things like that could cause issues there. We're not seeing any of that, so that's good. So productivity-wise, Vega seems to be doing okay. I do have some graphs so we can take a look at. You guys can take a look at this and pause and do whatever you want with it. Our first slide here is, let me grab my chart so I can read it to you, so I know what I'm talking about. So everything's in very high on this chart, and basically it's just an overclocking chart, so it's showing FXAA, no, not the MS4A, but I feel like FXAA for this title is all you need, and it handles it really well. As you can see, it handled anti-aliasing much better than I anticipated, even at 4K. So those are the results for overclocked. And let's go to the next slide here. This is your percentage of gain from overclock. So we gained 14% at 4K, roughly. When I turn the shadows down, so I'm not so CPU bound, I gained another percent. So now it's 15% from the overclock, from the baseline. I hope that makes sense. Let me read it to you again. Very high FXAA gains from overclocking, and then percent gain from dropping to high shadows. So it's the overclock performance that we're looking at, not the frame rate that we gain from high shadows. We're talking about the overclock delta from the high shadows. Dropping the shadows down 1 increased our overclock percentage for performance. And you can see at 1080p, it gave us a considerable amount of performance, even though we weren't GPU bound at all. Okay, so here you can see at ultra wide settings, 4K ultra wide, whatever you want to call it, it's gaining a lot of performance, almost 2%, and that's because we're CPU bound from that setting, from the very high shadows. It's giving us a CPU bottleneck, and so that's why I made this graph to illustrate. Potentially I could go run my Intel CPU and take a look at that, and maybe I'll do that someday. So here's the next slide. Percentage gain from very high preset to high preset at stock, and then added overclocking on the top. So this is illustrating what you can gain out of your video card from turning your settings down one notch, from going the very high preset to the high preset. And the reason I do this is because a lot of people feel like, oh, I have to have the best video card out there in order to enjoy a game. But the fact is, a lot of games you can still have a very good visual experience without buying the best of the best. I know that Vega, still costs a lot of money, and I know that Vega's not as fast, and it does use more power, and there's a lot of negative sides to it, right? But at least there's some positive sides too. Like, AMD is open source. NVIDIA is all about making money. AMD is about giving you whatever they can for nothing, right? So if more people adopt and stop paying the premium for NVIDIA, then we're going to see more DirectX 12 adoption and better gaming experience for us. And so for us, we should be buying AMD because it's the only other option out there right now. And it's not like it's that bad, okay? That's the thing. If it were way worse than what it was, performance per dollar and that sort of thing. And another thing I wanted to point out, it's playable. It's smooth. Even if your frame rate isn't as high, it doesn't matter as long as it's still playable. Anyway, the next slide, we are going... What the hell? Okay, this is just showing the frames per second of the previous slide from dropping. So this is just high settings, and then high settings with an overclock. Okay, so you can see at 1080p we're only gaining 2 frames per second, right? Because the last slide was percentages, So I mean, it's the same thing, but I just wanted to show the frame rates. So at 1080p we're getting 111 frames per second. We're definitely CPU bound there. 1440p we're seeing 100 frames per second almost with an overclock, and this is GPU bound. Okay, so that's it. Pretty much. You might see a little bit from a faster CPU, but don't expect a lot. Here we might be a little bit CPU bound, just because it's ultra wide, and then at 4K we're probably 100% GPU bound, or very, very close to it. So, but not bad. I know it's not a brand new game, but it is graphically demanding. So, yeah, I just wanted to check it out. I'm gonna do some more games, check them out, and see what we can do with Vega, right? So that's it, guys. I think I've probably rambled along long enough. I'm gonna do a series. I'm gonna keep on testing games and keep on throwing them out there. You guys can see if you guys have a specific game you want to see or a specific benchmark you want to see in a certain manner, a certain fashion, feel free to comment. Maybe I'll take a look at it. All right, thanks for tuning in. See you next time.